Hello dear students. So this session is for class 11th and today we will talk about psychology and other disciplines. Psychology lies at the intersection of many other different disciplines including biology, medicine, linguistics, philosophy. All other disciplines are somewhere interconnected with the psychology. Many branches of psychology are more closely connected with medicine. Health psychologists help people manage diseases and pain. Similarly, clinical psychologists help alleviate the suffering caused by mental disorders. Now we'll talk about the different psychological disciplines. The first one is we'll try to understand the relationship of psychology and sociology. Without understanding the psychological aspect of an individual, it is difficult to analyze social issues. According to Carl Pearson, the relationship between sociology and social psychology is too close. The two are not separate sciences. Now we'll talk about psychology and political science. Psychology as a behavioral science regards politics as one of the important aspects of study. It studies the political interest, level of participation in politics, political behavior and relationship. Psychology studies the specific motivation of individual towards the politic or political agenda. To understand the political complication, it is necessary to understand the psychological aspects of individual, and you can see how this psychology is related to all different disciplines. Now we'll talk about psychology and economics. So lack of proper facility, level of occupation, types of luxurious goods, unemployment, etc. may lead to conflicts, frustration and stress, which are important focus area of psychology. Life is very much dependent upon our financial aspect. Both psychology and economics are social sciences. Both have the common platform of study like human beings and their economic activities. Most of the time, the problems in society arise due to economic factors. We need to acknowledge, to explore the actual nature of social problems through the study of economics and psychology. Thus, both of these areas are quite interrelated. Now we'll talk about philosophy and psychology. If we trace the history of psychology, the psychology was the branch of philosophy. There are many therapies in psychology based on philosophical background. For example, this Rogers client-centered therapy. Philosophy and psychology are internally related discipline. Now we'll talk about psychology and medicine. So psychology as a field of its own is a real branch of medicine based on the evidence and the peer-reviewed research. It uses the scientific method like every other branch of medicinal science to learn about the various afflictions, like affliction means a cause of pain or harm of our species, human beings or animals, and how to alleviate and heal them. Now we'll talk about human psychology in architecture or engineering. Human psychology is directly related with architecture. It is appropriately used, there are the appropriate use of various architectural components such as color of the wall has the capacity of enlightening the atmosphere, whereas the inappropriate use does the opposite. For example, a room with white colored walls reflect the light and makes the space brighter and more pleasurable to be inside, and this is a psychological effect also. Now, some of the components of architecture which affects human psychology are like building forms, positive and negative spaces, colors, opening, lighting, acoustics, sound construction, green technique, landscapes, etc. So now we'll talk about mass media and psychology. Psychology is used to make the information more attractive to the receivers, like it is dependent on what the receivers, what the public is asking for. Some sectors in mass media are continuously integrating to psychological theories like advertising, politics, entertainment, journalism and culture. So these are the different disciplines where psychology is completely involved. Now we'll talk about shortly the scope of psychology. So it is basically theoretical psychology and applied psychology, which we called as basic area and the applied area. Now, basic area is the theoretical psychology. It is concerned with the theoretical knowledge, principle, fact, research, and is dedicated to develop different theories relevant in psychology. So, it includes your developmental psychology, social psychology, abnormal psychology, and experimental psychology. The primary aim of basic psychology is to answer many psychological questions. Now we'll talk about applied area. Applied field of psychology is mainly concerned with the application of principles, whatever theories have formed in basic psychology, that we use in this applied area. So theories of pure psychology in practical shape to solve the real life problems. There are more than 100 branches to applied psychology, like we have already studied in our previous sessions, like psychology in the field of medicine, counseling psychology, education psychology, psychology in self development, in politics, in industrial psychology, social psychologist, community psychologist, etc. So there are the different contributions of psychology in different field also, like it is helpful for ourselves, to help others, psychology as a career, like in clinical setting, in NGOs, counseling, research training, teaching, etc. So I hope you have understood this session, and with this we'll end our session, and for any query do message me on my number.